Good morning, dear students. In the previous class, I had told you that how Antonio was ready to die. Therefore, he tells Shylock to cut so deep so that he dies on the spot. At hearing the words of Antonio, Bassanio becomes very emotional. He says, Antonio, I am married to a wife which is as dear to me as life itself. My wife and all the world are not with me esteemed above the life. I would lose all, sacrifice them all, here to this devil to deliver you. Bassanio says to Antonio that he has a wife who is most beloved to him, even more than his life itself. But in order to save Antonio from the clutches of Shylock, Bassanio is ready to sacrifice his wife, his own life, and all the precious things or wealth of the world, so that he could save Antonio from the clutches of Shylock. Shylock is considered as devil, from whose hands Bassanio wants to deliver or save Antonio. Portia is not very much pleased with the words of Bassanio. She says, your wife would give you little thanks for what if she were by to hear you make the offer. Portia, when she hears that Bassanio has given such an offer that he is ready to even sacrifice his wife, she reminds Bassanio by telling, if Bassanio's wife could have been present there, she could have been not very much pleased with the offer that was given by Bassanio in order to save the life of Antonio. So she says, you little thank for that if she were. She would not thank you very much. She would be not very much pleased with you the way you have spoken about your wife. Immediately Graciano says, I have a wife who I protest I love. I would she were in heaven so she could entreat some power to change this cursed Jew. Graciano says, I too have got a wife who I protest, whom I claim that I love her so much. But in this particular situation, Graciano is expecting that if his wife could have died, she could have reached to heaven and she could have requested the God of life to change the mind of this Karish. Karish means pitiless, very hard-hearted person, Shylock. Graciano says, if my wife could have been there in the heaven, she could have requested the God of life to change the mind of Shylock so that he could save or he could give mercy to Antonio. In that situation, Narisa was very much there because she was clerk of Portia. She said, this will you offer it behind her back. The wish would make else an unquiet house. She reminds Graciano, saying, thank God, you are making such kind of prayer in her absence. If she could have been present here in this court, if she could have heard that you are willing to give up your wife, or you are thinking of that your wife could have died, then these things she could have not taken so easily. There could have been thorough fight. Your house could have been unquiet house. There could have been a fight in your house. Then Shylock says, these be the Christian husbands. Look at these values. Shylock says, these are the Christian husbands. This is the way they think about their wives. According to Shylock, that Christian husbands are not good husbands. For their own sake, they are ready to sacrifice their own wives. Therefore he says, I have a daughter. Would any of the stock of Barbus had been her husband rather than a Christian? He says he too has a daughter. He could have been so happy if his daughter could have married any one of the Barbus of the stock than to marry a Christian. Now suddenly he remembers that they are gone out of topic. He says, with trifle time, I pray thee, pursue sentence. Shylock immediately comes back to his senses. He says, we are wasting time. I request you to please pronounce the sentence. And then Portia says, a pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine. The court awards it, and the law doth give it. Portia tells him, Shylock, you are right. According to the law of Venice, according to the judgment of the court, you deserve a pound of flesh from Antonio's body, and law also gives you the permission to do so. Shylock is very happy. He says, most rightful judge. By hearing these words from the mouth of Portia, Shylock is excited. He says, you are the most rightful judge. You are the right judge for this particular case. And then Portia says, and you must cut this flesh from off his breast. The law allows it, and the court awards it. Portia reminds him that you have the freedom to cut the flesh from his breast. Law of the country allows you, and permission of the court is given to you. Shylock says, most learned judge, a sentence come prepared. Shylock is very happy by the sentence or the judgment given by the court. Therefore, he tells Antonio to prepare yourself or get ready, because he had to cut a pound of flesh from the body of Antonio. In that situation, Portia tells him, tarry a little. Wait for a while. Don't rush. Stop. There is something else. According to Portia, in that agreement something else also is remaining, or something else is also mentioned. This bond doth give thee here no jot of blood. The words expressly are a pound of flesh. So Portia reminds Shylock that in the bond or agreement, it is very clearly mentioned, expressly, clearly mentioned, only a pound of flesh. Not even a single drop of blood should come out from the body of Antonio. Take then thy bond, take thou thy pound of flesh, but in the cutting it, if thou dost shed one drop of Christian blood, thy lands and goods are by the law of Venice confiscate unto the state of Venice. She tells Shylock, if by mistake, while cutting the pound of flesh, you happen to drop a little blood from the body of Antonio, then according to the law of Venice, all the goods will be seized by the state of Venice. By hearing these words, Graciano was very much happy. He says, "Oh, upright judge, mark Jew, oh learned judge." Now Graciano uses the same words those were uttered by Shylock. He says, "You are an upright judge." He reminds to Shylock, "Is mark Jew, you are the one who told these words. Listen them carefully, that he is the learned judge." Then Shylock says, "Is that the law?" So Shylock was not fully aware of the law of Venice. Therefore, he wants to know from the court that is this the really law, whether it is mentioned in the law that it has to be like that. Then Portia says, "Thy shalt see the act, for as thou urgest justice, be assured thou shalt have justice more than desirest." Portia says, "You yourself can see the act, you yourself can see the law, and since you have demanded for justice, be sure you will be not given justice but more than what you have asked for." Graciano repeats the same words, saying that you are a right judge, you are a learned judge, and Shylock should listen to the words of this right judge. "Shylock, I take this offer, then pay the bond thrice and let the Christian go." By hearing these words of Portia, Shylock is frightened. He says, "I am ready to take the offer. They wanted to pay me thrice the amount that they have taken." He says, let me receive that amount and let Antonio go." And Bassanio was just waiting for those words. As soon as these words are uttered by Shylock, he says, "Here is the money, take it." But Portia says, "Be soft. Wait for a while. Stop. Don't be in hurry. The Jew shall have all justice. Soft. no haste. He shall have nothing but the penalty. Portia tells to Bassanio, don't be in a hurry. Just stop for a while. We want to give Shylock full justice. He shall have nothing than the penalty that he had asked for. And Graziano repeats the same words that Portia is really an upright judge and a learned judge who has thorough knowledge of the law. Portia tells, therefore prepare thee to cut off the flesh, shed no blood, nor cut thou less nor more, but just a pound of flesh. If thou cuttest more or less than a just pound, be it so much as makes it light or heavy in the substance. So Portia tells to Shylock, get ready. You wanted to cut a pound of flesh from the body of Antonio, so you do so. But remember, while cutting a pound of flesh, no blood should gush out or come out from the body of Antonio. You should neither cut less nor cut more. Means your measurement should be exact. 1 pound means 1 pound. Neither little less nor more. It be so as much it light or heavy in the substance. Mean it should be not even a small quantity be bigger than or more than the pound of flesh, or the division of the 20th part of one poor scruple. Nay, if the scale do turn but in the estimation of a hair, thou diest, and all thy goods are confiscated. So very clear mention in the law that even not a 20th part of the exact amount Shylock can take less or more. Not even of the weight of a hair of the head. If he by mistake happened to take even a small quantity of a hair's weight, either more or less, then he has to die, and all his goods will be seized by the state. So very tough law of the Venice. Graziano says, a second Daniel, a Daniel Jew, now infidel, I have thee on the hip. Graziano reminds him because Shylock had compared Portia with Daniel. He says, you were right. Portia is the second Daniel. Remember, Shylock, these were the very words of yours. And now, infidel means now you non-believer, remember that I have thee on the hip, means now you are already in the clutches of ours. Graziano has become very sure that Shylock has already lost his case, and case of Antonio, Bassanio and Graziano has become more strong or powerful. Portia says, why doth the Jew pause? Take thy forfeiture. Shylock is frightened. He is not able to take any action. In that situation, Portia says, now why are you quiet? Why did you stop? Go ahead. Take thy forfeiture. You wanted to take a pound of flesh, take it. Shylock is completely distressed, is completely defeated. He says, give me my principal and let me go. See, he was getting 36,000 ducats. That time he was not ready. Even Bassanio was ready to pay him 10,000 ducats. But Shylock was very adamant. But after hearing the judgment of the court, is completely dejected, rejected, depressed, defeated. He says, give me the principal. Means, give me the exact amount. That is 3,000 ducats. And let me go. Now, it is not that easy. Bassanio says, I have it ready for the take. Here it is. The Bassanio is not very much acquainted with the law, therefore he thinks let him take 3,000 ducats and let him vanish from here. But Portia does not buzz with those words of his. She says, he hath refused it in the open court. He shall have merely justice and his bond. Now, Portia has become very, very strong. She wants to make aware Shylock that the law of the Venice does not deny justice to anyone. Therefore, she reminds him, she tells him that the Duke of the city had asked you to forgive. Portia herself had asked him to be soft, show mercy towards Antonio, but he refused in the open court. And therefore now he shall have merely justice, only justice, and his agreement to be fulfilled. And Graciano gives the exclamation of happiness. He says, Daniel, still say I, second Daniel, I thank the Jew for teaching me that word. He is grateful to Shylock. Who is that? Graciano is grateful to Shylock for teaching him such a beautiful word that he had called Portia a second Daniel, a very upright judge. So Graciano, some way or the other, is trying to use the same words which were uttered by Shylock when the judgment was being pronounced in favor of him. Shylock says, shall I not have barely my principal? Now Shylock is frightened. He knows that he would not even get the exact amount, that is 3,000 ducats that he had given to Bassanio and Antonio as the guarantee. Portia says, thou shalt have nothing but the forfeiture to be so taken at thy peril, Jew. Portia reminds him, no, you will not even get 3,000 ducats because you yourself wanted, that was your request, you wanted that penalty should be given to Antonio, or forfeiture or the bond should be met or fulfilled. Therefore Shylock says, why then the devil give him good of it? Then Shylock is completely dejected. He says, why then the devil give him good of it? I will stay no longer question. He says, why? Then the devil is giving me such kind of inspiration. He says, I don't have any kind of questions. I don't want to stay in the court. I don't want any kind of money. Let me go. Portia says, steady, Jew. Wait for a while, my dear. Shylock, the law hath another hold on you. There is another hinge of the law on you. Hold, there is one more problem that law has. I mean, you have to face one more hinge of the law. It is enacted in the laws of Venice if it be proved against an alien that by direct or indirect attempts he seeks the life of any citizen, the party against the which he doth contrive shall seize one half his goods, the other half comes to the private coffer of the state, and the offender's life lies in the mercy of the Duke only. So Portia tells Shylock, now you can't leave the court so easily. According to the law of Venice, if a foreigner files a case against the citizen of Venice, or directly or indirectly he tries to take the life of the citizen of the Venice by plotting against him, in that situation, if he loses the case, then his half of the property goes to the person against whom the case was filed. Meaning, half of the property would go to Antonio because Shylock had plotted against the direct life of Antonio, and the half of the property will go to the treasury of the Venice. So Shylock is not given so easy way to go. She tells, according to the law of the Venice, suppose anyone is trying to kill the citizen of Venice, then his whole property has to go. Half will go to the person against whom the case was filed, and half will go to the state treasury, and the life of that person who had filed the case, means Shylock, depends totally on the mercy of the Duke of the city. She says, in which predicament, say, thou standest, for it appears by manifest proceeding that indirectly and directly too thou hast contrived against the very life of the defendant, that is Antonio, and thou hast incurred the danger formerly by me rehearsed. Down therefore and beg mercy of the Duke. So she tells, according to the proceedings, means so far as the case has proceeded, it is found not only indirectly but directly Shylock had contrived, plotted against the very life of Antonio. Therefore, Shylock has come almost facing the same situation, the danger formerly by the rehearsed. Meaning, then Shylock has to face the same situation. His half of the property has to go to Antonio, half of the property has to go to the state treasury of the state, and for his life he has to kneel down in front of the Duke of the city and beg for mercy. Ask the forgiveness, pardon he has to ask, because he had plotted against the citizen of Venice. Now Shylock is completely down. He has not only lost his 3000 ducats, he is also at the verge of losing all his property, and more than that, he has to lose his life if he does not ask pardon from the Duke of the city. Dear students, I have tried my best to make you understand Act 4, Scene 1 and Part 6. Means this is the 6th video that I have already produced for all of you. We shall continue the remaining portion of this scene in the next class. If you have any doubt, if you want to know more about this act of this part or this part, please ask me in the comment section. I will make you understand. I hope you like my classes. Even if you do not like, I am very sure that I am preparing you well for the board exams. God bless you. Have a nice and wonderful day. Thank you.